I did not like that intro, so I'm refilming it. My next challenge is to do the Camino de Santiago, specifically El Camino Frances. In English, that's the way of St. James and the French way. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to start with some history. This is a combination of documented facts and things that tradition says happens. So Jesus had two apostles named James. The older one is referred to as James the Greater. After Jesus died, James went to the area that is now known as Spain and introduced Christianity. He then went to Jerusalem and was beheaded, and his body was brought back to Spain because everyone wants to go back to Spain. He then played an important role in Spain's history as it became the country it is today. There was a lot of praying to him before their battles as the country of Spain and Portugal evolved out of the Iberian Peninsula. So he's very important to Spanish culture. So much so that, look at this, he's got his own cross. Looks pretty fancy. As well as the seashell is his symbol. He's got Santiago de Compostela is a city named after him. He's the patron saint of Spain, etc. Pretty important guy. At some point, over 1,000 years ago, people started going on pilgrimages to the city of Santiago de Compostela, which is what the Camino is it's a pilgrimage to that city. So they started over 1,000 years ago and have done it since. The idea was that you go there from your house. So as people all over the country and the surrounding area, the world I guess, would travel there, they would form common routes where eventually your branches connect into a main branch, and that goes to Spain. 2 years ago, I did the Camino Inglés, which would be the route that people coming down from England via a boat would land in Ferrol or A Coruña and walk down to Santiago de Compostela. It's only a 60-mile walk, not a big deal. My next one is the Camino Frances, which is everyone in France would enter Spain at this point and walk across Spain, essentially, and making it the Camino Frances. It's one of the most popular routes nowadays, and it's very common to start in some French town right on the border, and then the first day you walk into Spain and you walk across Spain, essentially. So like I said, people have been doing it for many years, but people back then were also interested in like surviving. So the popularity and just the availability of doing the Camino has had its ups and downs. Some very, very low spots, as in not many people doing it at all. But in like 1940, the leader of Spain thought that it would be a good idea to repopularize the Camino. He thought it'd be a good way to unify the country around a Catholic image, essentially. So he tried to support it, and since then the numbers have gone up. Recently the numbers have gone up dramatically. I'll see if I can throw some numbers over here, but I'm sure I'll find one showing the recent spike in people doing it. And while Franco wanted it to be popular for Catholic reasons, nowadays people do it for lots of reasons. And as a Catholic pilgrimage, probably not one of the highest. I'll see if I can, I'm pretty sure they register your reason for doing it. If you decide to register at the pilgrimage office in Santiago, I'll see if I can throw up some of the most common reasons there. But yeah, everyone's got their own reason. My reason for doing it 2 years ago was I wanted God to tell me what to do with my life. I made a video on this that wasn't very good, but that was essentially it. I said, like, I know who I am, I know the shape of my mind, I just don't know how to apply it. I want a purpose for my life, a mission, something like that. I'm going to go to Spain. I'm going to be completely open, set myself up in the right environment to hear a message and hopefully come out of it with a message. So that was my idea. It both worked and failed horribly. As I was walking up this hill in the rain, I decided on what I heard. I kind of teased it in the video. I was also hurting my ankle as that occurred. The ankle got worse. I managed to get to Santiago, but I had to cancel the follow-up pilgrimage to the end of the world from there. I had to take a bus. And I spent weeks not walking because my ankle was all busted up. And since then, when I came back from vacation, did I stick to my plan and what I decided I would do with my life? No, I did not. Instead, what happened was I became a worse person. That might surprise people who know me to hear, because they might not have seen any signs and they'd be like, give me some examples so that I can know if I agree with you or not. And I'm not going to give examples. I will say that there are noticeable things, both externally in what I've done and internally in how I think, that is my description of what's happened, is that I am a worse person because of how I act and think now versus how I used to. I've significantly downgraded. That's not to say I'm a bad person. I'm not going around kicking babies. But I'm not, for instance, concerned at all with my future. That whole, what's your mission in life? Don't care about it at all anymore. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. How I affect other people, don't think about it at all anymore. How I think about things, like I used to, every night I used to think about everything that occurred that day. I was very introspective, and I would analyze my actions, the result of my actions, how I could have done better, stuff like that. I don't do any of that at all anymore. And I don't care at all anymore. So it's easy to not do it because there's zero desire to do it. So all of this not caring has not exactly led to contentment, we'll call it. Because it was right here, actually, when I was having an anxiety attack and I was trying to figure out what was going on, when I decided that I'd given up on the world. Back when I was in high school, I had this idea that I was like, if everyone else was having a party, I was standing by myself at the, like, on the wall in the corner, not talking to anyone. That is obviously, for people who know me at parties, literally what happens at parties, but also in a broader metaphorical sense, that's how I felt. I felt very different, separated from everyone else, felt like no one understood me, and I felt like I was just against the wall watching the party happen. And I didn't know how to connect to people, and I didn't necessarily even feel the need to connect to people at the party. As kind of an unhealthy approach, like it led to thoughts of suicide, but also sort of manageable because I wasn't necessarily unhappy that I wasn't in the middle of the party, because that gets loud. Anyway, I was here when I realized that has shifted, and it's now not me looking at a party, but it's now me looking at the entire world. And I'm gonna throw up memes for both the party one and this one. But I'm looking at the entire world and I'm not a part of it at all. I've completely disassociated from everything, which, I mean, is not true. Like, if you talk to me about politics, I'll obviously have a side and I'll get agitated, so I care to some extent. But to another extent, I sort of have disassociated with everything I can think of in the world, and I'm just sort of existing. And I don't even care that I am at that point. So, that's the reason why I'm doing the Camino again, is to possible resolutions or outcomes of this. 1, nothing changes, and then I'll be like, all right. 2, I go back to my old self and I find myself a new purpose, like sort of fixing the previous Camino. That would probably be ideal. 3, I become an even worse person. Maybe I become a bad person and start punching babies. We'll see. I'm not going to worry or plan for that outcome. We're just going to see if it happens. 4, I become even weirder. We'll see. My Myers-Briggs, which I strongly agree in the Myers-Briggs personality type. When I took it, when I first learned about it, I was an INFJ. Recently, during an anxiety attack, I took like a quick version of it and I got ISTP, which is like the opposite except for I, which is super funny to me because I was like, my personality is just the opposite now. I don't believe the ISTP was accurate. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if I'm still acting the way an INFJ would act, but maybe we just become another person, turtle style. Anyway, that was 13 minutes. I feel like I said everything I wanted to say. I go to Spain in a month and a week, essentially. I haven't really prepared for it at all. I've been walking a bit, but other than that, and I got my flight. Other than that, I haven't prepared. I don't really feel the need to. I've done it before, and I sort of know what to do. And I just live based on vibes now, not plans. So, new intro complete. The rest of the video will probably not be so personal or introspective because ain't nobody got time for that. And I honestly don't want to think about what to say to a camera. I just want to experience it. I feel like just thinking about it sort of creates some inauthenticity, if that's a word. I think the video is going to be a picture or video of each day, maybe how far I walked, something like that. Just to document the fact that I did it. And then we'll see at the end whether I feel like having an update to let you know how my mental state is or not. Maybe you'll just figure it out from the type of YouTube videos I'm making afterwards. We'll see. That's it. Bye. It is less than a month away. Today I booked a hotel in Pamplona. My bus ticket to St. Jean Pied de Port, whatever, in France. I didn't get a hotel there, but I'm going to stay there for the night. And then the albergue in Roncesvalles the next day, which will be the first night of my Camino. I'm almost fully packed, and 5 minutes ago I was like stuck in saying a mantra of I wish I didn't exist to myself for a while. So that's my current state. Today is day 0 or -1 maybe. I leave for Spain this afternoon. I thought it'd be appropriate this morning to walk to church. So that's what I did. I'm now gonna go in church. There'll be a lot of churches in this video. Probably only the outside of them though. Not a big fan of filming in a church. I'm gonna show you what's in my pack when I get home. And then I'm starting. Think not as a man does, but as God does, Jesus said. That is a bold paraphrase from the priest today in his homily. St. Paul's continue not in ignorance, but try to determine the will of God, something like that. It was much more subtle, or less bold, we'll call it that. Anyway, it's not raining, and I am glowing a bit. Alright, here's the OOTC. What are we thinking? I went with white with the optional hat and shade maker to protect my ears. Now here's everything in my bag. We got a whole bunch of plastic bags because they don't weigh anything, and in case I need them. 2 foot braces because I'm very concerned about my foot and ankle. That's what the elastic band's for as well. Another bag. 3 pairs of underwear. 5 pairs of socks. I messed this up already. That's 4. That's 5. 2 pairs of shorts. 3 t-shirts. All of these are -1 because I'm wearing 1 pair. So we got 5 socks, 4 underwear, 3 shirts, 2 shorts, 1 shoes. The numbers were sort of just picked based on feeling, not really logic. Sleeping bag liner. This is like a sheet in a sleeping bag that you sleep in. Not sure if I'm going to wear these or not, but I'm going to bring them. Arm sleeves. In case I don't want to use sunscreen, these will protect me. These are the same ones I use for running. Which now look like this. Wow, that's quite a bit longer. I hope I got the same size. I guess they stretch. Anyway, I think that's funny. I didn't go white with these because I thought of the white thing later. Oh well. An adapter to charge things, Spanish plug. An external battery with a wire to charge the battery, to charge my phone, and to charge my watch, which I will be wearing. A notebook and 2 pens. A tripod for that YouTube life. Water bottle. On the bag I got a carabiner and some safety pins. They're not called safety pins, whatever these are called. Sunglasses. Just got some change, Euro change in here. Prayer cards for the rosary in Spanish. I'm not bringing a rosary. On my first Camino, I made this one and used it during. And then when I got to Santiago, I bought this one, which is like white and gold, so you would think it'd be good, but instead I'm gonna buy a new one when I get to Pamplona, hopefully find like a black one. So like that would be a good vibe. There's only one compartment left in the bag, that's in the hood, as they say. I've got this bag with mouthwash, flosser picks, toothbrush, toothpaste, a razor, toenail clippers. What is this? Toothpaste, melatonin pills, some KT tape, and a body wash container thing. Eyeglass, sun, whatever this is called, the thing you can't see through for sleeping. A whole bunch of earplugs. I have not tested this brand, so hopefully they work. And that's it. I know what you're thinking. Where's the Vaseline? But in the words of Ice Cube, we're going no Vaseline. It's really important to put Vaseline on the bottom of your shoes to keep them looking fresh for your YouTube videos, but I've gone with the alternate another way. I did spray them with the crepe before I put them on.
Always protect what you love. Crepe protect. Another one.
So hopefully the shoes stay looking nice. If I get blisters, which I'm not planning on it, that's what the KT tape is for, and then I'll decide on what I want to do if that occurs. But hopefully it won't. That's all you need. If you're thinking, hey, what about insert any other item? You don't need it. Like, if it rains, I'm gonna get wet. If it's cold, I'm gonna be cold. if any other situation, there's a situation, oh, in my pocket, I got a wallet and a passport. You do need those. I did want to bring an extra pair of shoes, but I don't know what kind to get because I've only ever worn tennis shoes, and I do want to have some non-tennis shoes for like when I get to the town, sort of give my feet a break as I walk around the town that I'll be staying at. And I'm going to hopefully buy them in Spain. Anyway, my flight is in 5 hours. So, I'm going to continue walking around my apartment. And that's it. We're almost to stage 2 of this video. Pretty exciting. Also, I forget if I said sunglasses, but they will be there, of course. And I'm bringing a mask for the airport because I don't want to be stuck next to some coffer for my whole flight. And the total weight of the pack, let's see, me alone with all my gear here is 168.2. I feel like I put on 5 pounds in the last 2 days, but that's fine. With the pack is 178.2. So that's some real easy math for me. 10-pound pack. The bag itself was 3.5, so I have 3.5 pounds of stuff. I feel like that's almost light enough that it would have been worth doing like a drawstring bag for, but hopefully the structure of the pack makes it worth it because it'll feel lighter if it's being carried the right way. To do the Camino de Santiago, you're supposed to start at your front door and begin your pilgrimage. I chose not to start at my door. Instead, I took a ride to an airport, got on a plane, got on another plane, walked to a bus stop to take a bus, went to the worst smelling bathroom I've ever smelled in my life, went to another bus station, took another bus. I'm now in France at the start of the Camino Frances. The pilgrim's office was not in the most like scenic spot videographically, so I walked up a hill and this is what we're looking at. The town of Saint-Jean-de-Pied-de-Port in France, with the Pyrenees nestled in the Pyrenees Mountains. Right down there was the pilgrim's office. And tomorrow I start my pilgrimage, and this becomes less of a vlog and more of just a scenic view, probably. Today I walked up out of the valley and into the mountains. There was a lot of fog and animals, and it was very pretty. After 37,609 steps, I arrived at Roncesvalles. I wrapped my foot as a precaution because I was going to walk down and then up and then down and then up and over and around and down mountains.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and the sun will be shining today. Good morning, good morning, good morning, we show you the right way. Good morning, good morning, good morning, God bless you all the way. God bless you all the way. Buen camino.
It was a pretty technical trail, and after 31,019 steps, I arrived at Zubiri. Then I bought a 3-pack of sponges to try to clean my shoes under this bridge. The only thing that hurt was my tendon, otherwise my feet felt fine. And after 35,057 steps, I arrived at Pamplona again.
I woke up early and was able to see the sunrise while walking through fields that had already been harvested, except for the dead sunflowers. From the top of the mountain, I was able to see my destination, and after 35,149 steps, I arrived at Puente la Reina. I was very content and happy all day long as I crossed over the Arga for the last time. And after 31,857 steps, I arrived at Estella. I fell asleep falling into sadness and walked the next day sitting in sadness. The detour to get this view cost me an additional 7,000 steps, but it was definitely worth it. After 37,200 steps, I arrived at Los Arcos.
That's the moon. I'm also really sad. When did it start? Not the night before last. I started getting sad. And I'm like really, really sad. So, Bob and Laura, if you're watching this, I apologize. I feel like I did you dirty. Potentially gonna see you today, but I guess it depends. And yeah, I'm just not happy with anything. If this was at home, I would be at the cemetery right now. And the fact that it's happening in Spain is kind of disappointing.
I felt like everything was going to shit, and after 40,460 steps, arrived at Logroño. But I bought allergy medication and felt much better the next day. On the way out of town, I saw rabbits, squirrels, and sparrows. I talked to a local Spanish man and a local Pennsylvania woman. And at 41,233 steps, I arrived at Nájera. It didn't rain all day, only from like 8 to 11, but I was still kind of soaked. And I walked completely alone without even my shadow for 40,772 steps to arrive at Grañón. I slept in a clock tower, which was very dry. Short walk of 27,135 steps to Belorado, where I arrived in time to see their fiesta. I left at 6 a.m. and walked through groups of people still celebrating from last night. It was comforting to have my shadow back, but discomforting when I lost the crucifix. After 32,433 steps, I arrived at San Juan de Ortega. left very early in a foggy, hungry morning. If you've only ever heard of the Cruz de Ferro, you might think this was it. But this one was wood, so I think it was called the Cruz de Telefono because it looked like a telephone pole, but I'm not sure. It was a very long industrial road to Burgos, but I arrived after 37,527 steps. A bus driver honked at me for jaywalking as I left the city, so it gets 2 out of 5 stars for me. After 30,244 steps, I arrived at Hornillos del Camino, where a German girl told me it would rain tomorrow, but I think she's wrong. Today I walked with no thoughts in my head, which is good for walking, but bad for YouTube commentary, and she was right. But after 30,914 steps, I arrived at Castro Jeriz and took a detour to tour the castle. Then I used another sponge to clean my shoes. I saw the sunset behind the mountain and it was beautiful, so I decided to wake up early the next morning to see the sunrise from the mountain. After 20 minutes, I gave up. And the sun rose 10 minutes afterwards. I spent most of the day walking next to a canal, which was mind-blowing. And after 35,157 steps, arrived at Fromista. I waited 30 minutes for a church to open, and then 15 more when they were late, but I never gave up, because I had more confidence that a Spaniard would come open the door than I did that the sun would actually rise. And after 30,005 steps, arrived at Carrion de los Condes. The next day was a very calm road, which was needed after the excitement of the last night, where I thought I lost 3 of my socks, going from 8 to 5. But I managed to find them all, just like I managed to find the way to Terradillos de los Templarios after 38,200 steps. I reached the halfway point at Sahagún and celebrated by going to Dia. I then was overwhelmed by the crowds and decided to take a less popular variant and was rewarded by the sight of sunflowers finally. After 40,255 steps, I arrived at Calzadilla de los Hermanillos. Today I walked on the remains of a Roman road, which was not very impressive. Spanish roads are much better. I was very impressed by the bridge and wall of Mansilla de las Mulas, which I arrived at after 36,215 steps. to see a bunch more really cool bridges. It was a very short day, walking 26,266 steps to León, which really reminded me of Madrid. I walked through suburbs all day long, until finally, the last 2 miles were through some corn. After 36,631 steps, I arrived at San Martín del Camino. I wondered why this bridge was so long, and eventually saw it was because it needed to cross 2 rivers. After 38,094 steps, I arrived at my favorite city of the entire Camino. Astorga is super cool, and I could live there. I was escorted out of town by a street sweeper, and the walk through St. Catalina was a wonderful intro to the return of the mountains. After 36,594 steps, I arrived at Fontebadón. Here's the actual Cruz de Ferro. A lot of mountain steps. It was the most steps I took, and the latest that I arrived at 3 p.m. after 41,095 steps at Ponferrada. Yesterday, I walked in the mountains looking at the town. Today it was flipped, as the town turned into vineyards and the mountains stayed in the distance. After 37,174 steps, I arrived at Villafranca del Bierzo. I took a mountainous alternative path because a pretty girl said to. I walked up and across and down mountains. Great views, 234 flights of steps, and after 36,776 steps, arrived at La Faba. There were great views as I entered Galicia. I walked up hills that reminded me of the ones that I woke up to. And after 36,278 steps, arrived at Tria Castella. I started the day staring at peaches, which is not a euphemism. Galicia is the land of fairies. There are more pilgrims, bigger rest areas. And I beat the maze in 500 steps. I stopped for a cow parade. Kept walking, and after 27,069 steps, arrived in Sarria. In the morning, I walked towards the moon, but it kept avoiding me. Was that a trend? I saw a bunch of these things, which they use in Galicia to store food, not dead bodies. The crowds got worse, as there were less than 100k to go. After 34,068 steps, I arrived at Puerto Marín. My dreams came true last night. I spent this morning deciding if I should have kids. There were lots of trees, lots of people, lots of walking. Lots of everything except for days left. After 40,438 steps, I arrived at Ponte Campagna. There were no crowds today. Only deep talks, plans, and regrets. 40,863 steps to Os Pinedos. And I finally used my third sponge. Today started out dark. First there was one person, then there were not very many more. It was rainy vibes and not at all crowded. After 33,800 steps, arrived at Lavacoya. Started walking in the dark, quickly became part of an army. The trouble buses released lots of loud people, but I decided I didn't like it, so it went away, and I walked in a silent bubble. Then I was there, and after 14,570 steps, I sat down in Santiago de Compostela. But there was more land, so I kept walking. It was a really beautiful rainy day. And after 31,570 steps, I arrived at Negreira. 8 hours of rain, 37,477 steps, and Lago. In 585 steps, I traveled 10 miles because I cheated and took a taxi. I then walked roughly the same distance till I arrived at the end of the earth.
Buen camino.
And there we go. That is the video of my Camino Frances. A little bit of a recap, a couple things I wanted to say. I don't know the total step count. On the last day, I mentioned that I took a taxi, and then I did walk another 15K, 10 miles, but forgot to record it. So I don't know what the total step count was. That's a bummer. I lost 16 pounds doing the Camino, so that's might be interesting for you. I did do a what did I pack, and then I did this video on like a review of all of the things afterwards. I'm not going to waste 10 minutes. I'm just going to tell you the highlights. The portable charger pack thing, super useful. What I would do is go into the albergue, plug that in, and then leave and walk around town. And then at night, I would just charge my phone from the charger thing inside my sleeping bag. So I never had to worry about someone stealing my phone. If there was no easily accessible charger, I would just skip the charging step for a day, and the charger could charge my phone up twice. So I theoretically had 3 days, and my phone lasts a day, more than a day. So I could go 3 days without a charger if I needed to. I never had to go more than one skip, but I could have. The zippers on the short pockets, super clutch, highly recommended. Keeps change from falling out when you sit down, as well as it kind of feels safer from pickpockets, right? Attaching your shell to your bag so that it shows the right way, super important. I recommend you come up with a plan before you start your Camino. You can get the shell when you're there, but think about how you're going to attach it so it doesn't bounce and flip-flop everywhere. I do wish I had some type of waterproof cover for my bag because when it rained, the things inside did get wet and did not dry. I highly recommend a second pair of shoes that aren't confining, like a type of sandal or something. I attempted to do that by buying slides, but I lost them after a couple days and they were horrible. But I don't wear those types of shoes. But for like 2 weeks, my feet really hated being put back into a shoe in the second half of the day once you're in the town. Whereas if I had a sandal, I think they would have been much happier. After 2 weeks, they were fine. The swelling went away, but they really didn't like being shoved back in there. So, second pair of shoes, super recommended. I also wish I had some thin gloves. It didn't get super cold. I went in the end of August into September, and it was a little bit colder than I thought in the some mornings. I know I wrote down at one morning it was 50 degrees at 11 a.m., which means I walked for 4 hours in 40-degree weather, and my hands were really cold. As far as money goes, I didn't track how much I spent. Spent the normal amount. I don't know. I did get $87.85 in ATM fee reimbursement from my Charles Schwab debit card, if that's worth anything for you. The albergues, hostels that I stayed at were from between $6 a night and $20 a night. And I went to church 18 times. Well, to Mass 18 times out of 37 days. I went to a church just about every day, most days, multiple churches. I went inside all the ones that I could, and to all of them I threw down an Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory Be. Only one time did I go to a restaurant and eat according to a restaurant's menu. Every other time I was just buying like groceries and stuff. And I don't have the number of hours I spent reading on my phone, but I did download the Royal Road app and spent probably 1 to 2 hours per day. I would say maybe 60 hours over the whole trip reading. You have a lot of downtime when you're laying in bed. So people who were debating on a Kindle, either a Kindle or a way to read on your phone is probably a good idea. Okay, one last tweak because I realized that not everyone watching this has also watched videos on the Camino on YouTube. So you might not be familiar with what the day-to-day looks like. So I'm going to break that down for you. Start by waking up at like 6 or 7 in the morning. The people who leave at 5 usually do it super quiet. The people who wake up at 6 usually wake me up, and the people who wake up at 7 are not even trying to stay quiet. A little bit depended on the day and weather. Like if you had a long day or there was bad weather, maybe you'd want to start earlier. But I usually just, since I was up, I would just go. Even though I personally would have been fine leaving at 8, I leave at 6. You then start walking. If I walked through a town that had some kind of supermarket or any type of grocery store, I would usually buy some bread, meat, and cheese and make myself a sandwich for lunch. I'd also drink a liter of either milk or juice that I either bought or had from the day before. And then I would continue walking until I arrived at my destination. usually around 1 or 2 o'clock. I would then immediately shower, change out of my white shirt and shorts, put on my other white shirt and shorts, and head into town, usually to see if there's any food and get myself some groceries for dinner. Again, the classic bread, meat, cheese, and a liter of milk or juice. I tried to drink 1 liter of milk and 1 of juice each day. Fit pretty well. And to look around the town and see if there was a church, and if there was, what time they had mass. Then I'd come back and eat, maybe rest a little bit, just lay in a bed. And try to stay out of the sun and just rest during that period, but then go out into the town later at night again. Usually the mass was at 7 or 8 o'clock, so I would go to that and then eat afterwards and get ready for bed. But first, you have to plan out the next day or 2 days' journey. They gave us this in Saint Jean, which was like their recommended stages. You go from this town to this town, and it says how many K each day is. I stayed pretty close to this. There's a couple exceptions, like there were a couple times when they said walk 35K this day and then 15K the next day, so that you get into that town early. And I was like, no, I'm doing half each day. I tried to keep it really consistent between 20 and 30, but anything less than 20 probably means you didn't have to go 27 this day to go 18 this day. Look how many towns you passed. So this one, for example, I definitely did not do all this. I walked from here to here, like the halfway mark. It wasn't actually halfway. These aren't to scale. And then I walked from here to here. And then from here to here, which, again, they're not to scale. This was 3 consistent days for me. This is 3 wacky days, according to their agenda. So I did that because my foot was always on the forefront of my mind. So planned out the next day. I would then put all my clothes that I was going to wear in the morning on the top of my bag so I didn't have to go searching for it the next day, and then go to sleep. I showed that I had 2 different earplugs. I would keep them with me, keep my phone charging with me if inside my sleeping bag, and if I needed it, I would use it. One other thing about walking through towns, all of the towns in Spain had this sign that you would see, like the small little villages. You'd come by this placard and it shows you with yellow arrows where the Camino is, and then sort of like just blocks of the town, which I really appreciate. It gives you like a sort of snapshot of this is what the town looks like as you walk through. They all had it. Some of them also had a detailed one in the background, like this is the tourist office one, but then they had their own with little towns and marked so you could see supermarkets or churches super easily. And I really appreciated that, just as an aside. One of the reasons why I wanted to stay with this was I figured all of the big towns would have the most albergues, and I didn't want to have to worry about where I would sleep at night. So I used a combination of this and the Buen Camino app. The app made it super easy. You go to a town and shows all the albergues listed, and it was usually easy to see which were the municipal ones, which is where I usually stayed at. And then when you were close to town, you just turn it on, you say, I want to go here, and it shows you, walk this 400 meters this direction. And I liked this map finding very much, walking through a town, because sometimes it leads you to a dead end and you had to walk around, but that was fun. The app was also super useful. Sometimes there's alternate routes, and this was a good way to see just at a glance how far, which one's the alternate route, first of all, left or right, and how far would I have to walk before it connects. Because some of them are a couple miles, some of them are a couple days you'd be on an alternate route. So it also like gave a recommendation and explanation of which way was better, but I liked the map better so I could just see it. And it also told me about the albergues, also gave you the ability to message them on WhatsApp, see their price and how many beds they had. I really didn't have to worry about the albergues at all. I just went with the cheapest one. I didn't take a single picture of any, but they're all like the same. They're just big dorms. I figured they were all the same. I was then later told that some of them have pools you can go to or spas that are connected to it. I didn't see any of that, possibly because I was just always going to the cheapest municipal one. As far as people snoring, sometimes you just get snorers, and that's the way things are. Sometimes you might think it's like perfect. Oh, okay, there's this nice small room. There's only 4 people in it. It'll be quiet. And then you get somebody who moves around all night long and goes and sighs every time they move. Completely obnoxious. Or you get somebody who talks in German in their sleep all night long. Probably also obnoxious. It's just sort of the luck of the draw, and that's why you bring earplugs and use them if you need to. Anyway, that's how your day goes basically for a month, and it's wonderful. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. And I think I really only have one thing left. At the start of this video, I talked about the reason that I wanted to go on this Camino and how I wanted it to change my life again, and the issues that I was having with anxiety and just my feeling lost in the world, disassociated with the world. And I wanted that to change when I went on the Camino. So, that's what this part's going to do. I am going to give you an update at a high level, and this might be broken up a bit. When I walked, I thought about things. And then I realized I wasn't making any videos, so I started writing it down in the notebook at like high-level cliff notes. And then I stopped at Fontebadon, and I went through and recorded a half-an-hour clip where I tried to read what I wrote and remember my cliff notes on giving this speech and my logical process. And it was kind of a disaster. So I did that. I have to go back and watch it to remember what exactly I talked about. But I remember at the end of it thinking, here, I'll show you what I was thinking. So let's see, where we start is what I wanted to find out was what I want to do with my life, right? What on earth I'm doing. My brother talks to random people all the time. I've also used the phrase random people. By that I mean people you don't know. And he was like, yeah, that's normal, you should do that. And I was like, no, that like, you become less of a person, you're losing your soul when you talk to random people. And he was like, no, that's not a thing. You're talking to people and possibly getting a connection and possibly making a friend for life with some random person on the trail. No, absolutely not. So, pull and offer threads from tapestry, yep, covered that. Don't have thou devised that talk of soul to stormy? Who will thou thread and lent? What? I like being alone. It's not an issue for me. Church, fraternity. Oh, I was thinking like, yo, maybe I'm just supposed to be alone, and there's a whole bunch of alone thoughts. I did it by myself, as I eventually successfully do all things. Maybe that's the play. F the world, feed it beans, do everything by yourself. And something about it was like, people are called to live in fraternity. And I was like, brah, you're saying that everyone's supposed to? I can't live alone? The church is telling me that? So that was kind of disappointing. Does that make any sense? This doesn't make any sense. I really scuffed this idea by not recording these on the day of. The last time, I didn't share on the video what I decided to do with my life. Is that what I was trying to decide? Yeah, last time it was I know who I am, but I don't know what to do. And I didn't share. I like skirted around the end, and like I just wasn't open enough to have the confidence to share. Even when I was talking to my aunt afterwards, I still felt like I sort of gave her
a vague answer, which is disappointing because I don't remember the answer. But that was sort of the, what am I doing? How do I get there? Thoughts, and I scuffed it last time. What parts of me are the way I am, and what can I change? That's a question that I don't know how to answer. Felt group connection today and wonder at the scenery. Aware I won't get that at home. Am I okay with that? Do I deserve wonder? Because part of me wants darkness. That's an interesting thought. Don't know where I was going with that. Alright, I know what some of that means. You ready? When I talk to people, I like to overthink it. Like every time I would pass somebody, I would be thinking, well, do they look like they would speak English or Spanish? Which is hard to tell when you see someone's back. And then I decide what I would say to them as I pass. And then you got to think about at what point do you look over at them to initiate, or what if they respond in the other language? Are you going to flip-flop? You're going to say both? What if they talk first? What if you talk first? What if the person's coming from behind you, so now all you have is the footsteps and you still have to make the decision? Are they looking? Are you looking? I would think about that on every single person that I would see. And that is super normal for me. My example was not worth going into. It was about driving and how I'm like paying attention to a bunch of potential scenarios at all times when I'm driving. It's mentally exhausting, but not that exhausting because I'm used to it. So overthink that, or I am overthinking it. And is that one of the things I could change about myself, to think less? Yeah, as soon as I decided I'm just not like equipped to talk to random people, I talked with somebody for an hour. I don't know which one that is. Maybe it's the local, maybe it's the JT. Because I'd met JT the night before and I'd been able to analyze him and understand him. Then the next day, he was not a random person. I was able to talk to him for an hour. Didn't felt like I lost any threads. I didn't write that down. I think I was going to talk here about the threads. To clarify, threads are not spoons, if that's what you're thinking. Threads are literally a part of your soul. When you say hello to someone, you are giving them the ability to pull that thread out of your soul and take it if they are inconsiderate enough to do so. In my experience, people are very inconsiderate because they do not consider. They're not aware of the things that they should be considering. For example, when you pass someone, or when someone passes you, whoever's in front, whoever passed the other person, if they then have a rock in their shoe and they stop to get the rock out, and then the person behind passes them, and then they go and pass them again, that was very inconsiderate of the faster person to do. They should have gotten the rock out of the shoe before they passed, or they should have lived with the rock until they were far enough ahead such that the repass didn't happen. They could get the shoe out, the rock out, and still be ahead. I gave that scenario to one of the girls I was talking to, and not that it was inconsiderate at the soul level, but that it was inconsiderate. And I'm not sure if she agreed. I don't know how anyone else will agree. I haven't gotten their take on it, but I think that that is a very inconsiderate thing to do. I'm not going to give an example of what someone does to take a piece of your soul, because I think it would be over your head. I don't. If I talk to a random person, I'm not ripping out threads of their tapestry because I'm not a total jerk, but I think most people do, and they're not aware of it. So there's that, which implies that it's something on their end, which now implies that, which is not the case. So there's a complexity in there that I misstated. Next up, why am I so worried about connections and not what to do with my life? Wasn't that the purpose? Then I got sad, and that lasted for 2 days. And I just wrote sad in the paper. And then I decided, let's start over. Yeah, so that was like a week's worth of thinking. And then at the end, I was like, so do I continue this thought, or do I just toss it all? Yeah, it's not unusual for me to be like, oh, spend all day thinking about something, and then at the end be like, well, that was useless. That led nowhere. Let's start over. So I was debating whether I want to do that or not. And I decided, you know what? decided to walk in silence, so that's what I did. Then I talked to a local and PA instead. So later that day, this Spaniard guy was waiting in the middle of the road, and he was like, "You speak English?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, well, he didn't say it that well because he was Spanish, but he wanted to practice his English. So I talked Spanish to him, he talked English to me, and we walked for a bit. And then talked to the PA lady as well that day. So it was funny that I was like, all right, you know what? I'm not going to worry about talking to people. I'm just going to walk in silence. And then I ended up talking to a bunch of people. Next day, talked to so many yesterday, local PA at dinner, and the girls, now rain and no one. Dude, it rained one day and I talked for no one for 7 hours as I was walking. And it was like, bruh, I'm cold, I'm wet, and I'm alone. And no one, and I decided to say forget it all. Thinking ain't doing nothing but confusing me. Just enjoy seeing Spain. And enjoy the experience and don't worry about the goal. And ooh, that was classic. There's all kinds of signs about a journey over destination. So I stopped thinking about if I was going to talk in Spanish or English to people or anything, and I would just walk next to them, look at them, and if they said something, I would reply in the same language that they talked. And it seemed more authentic for my part, as if I was replying and like actually wishing them have a good day instead of just saying good day, but in Spanish. Except reason is I stopped thinking / caring about it. AKA the reason that started all of my issues was not caring about things. So, is it still a good thing that I'm not thinking or caring about it? And then I wrote, if yes, fuck you. Don't understand me, that's core. So if your immediate thought was still, yeah, that still sounds like a good thing, then I don't think you're understanding the core issue that I have with my life right now, and what it means that I don't care or don't think about things anymore. It's a complete shift in personality, and I'd already decided to not make me a better person. So the fact that I seem to be shifting even more, well, I talked about it in the beginning, maybe I'll shift even more and become an even worse person. We'll see, but it's worth considering. Is it a good thing? It is not a good thing, period, in my opinion. And if your opinion differs, then I don't think that you are being respectful to me, or you're just confused by the whole thing. But I mean, this is 22 minutes and it's going to be an hour into the video, so if you are watching this, you committed way too much time for something that you don't understand. Anyway, back to the whole goal. What's the reason for life? What is the core, not core, but the simplest, most common answer? And I decided it was do what you love or like or whatever, and be a good person. I don't know if people even put be a good person at the end of there, but that's important to me, so I'm adding it. That's like the most generic, right? So why not start with there? So the changes I'm gonna make when I get home. So then the question was, is that enough? I didn't like put things that I like doing, because part of that is just getting rid of the things that I spend a lot of time on. Therefore, I'd have more time for the things I like doing. And I like doing a bunch of stuff. I don't ever have like an issue of not doing the things I like. Then the next thought was, is that going to be enough? Just doing things that you like doing. And I decided, I don't know. And then a day later, I decided, absolutely not. And it was because I like to get like really into things. As soon as I'm enjoying something, I like to obsess over it. And I want to have one thing that I can obsess over real deeply. But then a couple days later, I was like, you know what? Well, maybe like you just do a bunch of things and you get really into them. And the issue with that is it always leads to like disappointment. Eventually, your expectations aren't met enough times that you can't really get that into it because it's just not working the way you want it to work. Because I'm not good at things. I like doing things, but not well. I was like a solid B+ student in school because I'm like, can do any topic, but I'm not like hella good at it. Anyway, that's my thoughts at the moment. It's probably been a week since I've added anything to that. As I said, I've just been enjoying Spain. I'm not going to do this again probably, so it's good to see it all now and really absorb it. I still have 45 minutes before the albergue opens, but I think I'm done with this for now. Let's see if I add anything else. It's sort of, again, as I said, I'm not really good at things. This is not at all the way I wanted it to come out. I regret taking such horrible notes and not being able to express myself correctly. It's kind of a bummer, but as all things are, it is what it is. This is how it came out. It no longer is, it was, it's over. Parks and Rec quote there. Okay, did that give any clarity to you? Did you enjoy that look into my mental process? My thoughts, looking back at it, that was a bunch of nonsense. My thoughts on that day, that was a bunch of nonsense. I'd sort of given up on this whole idea of figuring anything out via thinking and was just gonna live. So that day I went back to the albergue where the girls that I'd mentioned there was a group of girls that I'd talked to earlier, were also staying at that albergue, and I decided to talk to them again. And I even became friends with one of them on Facebook. And I was just thinking about I don't know, giving up on thinking and just living, right? So then 2 days later, I had another talk to the camera, heart to heart. Here's the edited clip of that. So more of my brain. Here you go. These right here. Rec quote there. Yesterday, I said something about being antisocial. I was questioned, are you actually antisocial or are you just shy? Because you're being social now. So I was like, all right, let me think about that. So today I was thinking about it, and then I was looking at mountains. I don't feel like talking in front of all these people though. This is shyness, but we're gonna pause. All right, let's try this again. Although I did just go in a church, so my mood might have changed. Started thinking about, am I shy or antisocial? Definitely do have some shyness, but definitely have a lot more antisocialness. Like at family parties, I don't talk to people anymore. I don't like talking to people in groups anymore. I feel like COVID just screwed my ability to talk to people. Oh, there's a bridge. I'm gonna have to pause for the bridge again. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, no, I really don't know how to talk to people or like talking to people, even though sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. And then I was like, what does that even mean? And then I stopped thinking, oh, there's a park over there. And then I started thinking, and then I'm rushing because I'm getting to the good part where I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't enjoy thinking about myself. I'm not getting anywhere. It's not fun. I don't know myself. I don't care. Which is so not the way I used to be. I used to just think about myself and how I think all day long. And I used to think it was so important. And now I don't think it's important at all. And that's the crux of it, is I don't know myself. I don't care about myself. That's the issue that I identified at the start of the Camino. Apparently I still got it. What is even the point of considering anything? Because none of it matters. Crossing off of a sidewalk, but yo, I like this heart out of rocks in the water. I might do that. I'm crossing a cool bridge. I'm gonna go over there to take a picture of it looking back, but so many cool bridges. That's might be the last update. We'll see. I've sort of given up on life. Oh snap, walking into the sun. I did want to clarify here. I realized that ending a video with, "This is my last update. I've given up on life," as I'm standing on top of a bridge, might not be like the most traditional way to end a video. So I figured I should give another update. But first, I'm in the process of getting to this bridge here. It's true though. I just don't understand myself anymore. I don't like myself, and I don't care to care about it because it's not like I can change it. I'm just this now, and I don't know what this is, and I don't think it's good, and that's just what we're gonna do. Is that the new what I'm gonna do with my life? Is just try to avoid coming to terms with who I am and just ignore it? Start the suppressing phase? I don't know. There's like a waterfall too. It's just cool. Welcome back to the Camino. So that's the conundrum, is I don't want to think about it. But you got to think about it to solve it. And you got to think about it to make a change. You got to understand that before you change it, you got to understand it, right? You got to know where you are before you know where you're going. But I just don't care. And then I care so much, but at the same time I don't care. And that's what causes the anxiety attacks, I think, which haven't happened since I've been in Spain, because obviously I've so many things to distract myself with. That not that I like feel coming and I distract myself, but just my brain's not thinking about anything negative and hasn't for months. No worries, no concerns. Everything's perfect. But when that comes to an end and I'm only left with myself and I'm not perfect, I feel like this isn't gonna have had any impact on me. And I'm out of ideas. So we'll just, I don't know. I don't care. I do care. I don't know. Cut it, I don't know.
I don't care, but I do care. And I did care, but I didn't care, but I did care. Did any of that make sense to you? The next day, I used my phone to play music for only the second time on the Camino, and I was listening to NF's Hate Myself song, and I was feeling some kind of way. And then I paused it because people were on the trail, and they ended up being people that I know, those 3 girls that I talked about. And I walked with them the next day, and then not the day after, but then the day after, and then I finished the Camino walking with them, actually. And as a callback to when I said, you're not just going to make a lifelong connection with somebody that you meet on the Camino, that's dumb. I'm not sure how long tattoos last, but... Wait, what about the clip of me eating bread? Oh no, that was in my vegetarian video. So, since the Camino, I have started dating one of those 3 girls. The first couple months after the Camino, I was happy because she makes me happy, but I was also very still depressed, I think. Recently, I'm just happy all day long, and my life is very happy. I still don't think introspectively as much as I used to, but again, it's because I think I know who I am, so I don't think I really need it. And a lot of the issues that I was wondering about and worrying about and saying you have to like figure them out for it to go away, right? They have just gone away, and I didn't actually have to think about it or figure anything out. It just disappeared. So there's something to be said for no, you don't have to figure things out. Sometimes things just go away, and thinking about it just makes it take longer to go away, maybe. Maybe that's the wisdom that I got on the Camino, is instead of thinking, just walk. I don't know. I'm not going to give religious wisdom, but I'm very happy with my life right now. And if and or when I do another Camino, I'm really excited to not have to have it be life-changing. I'm not going to go into it with the goal of, oh, please change my life. I'm going to go into it just enjoying it from the get-go. So, look forward to that video once it comes out. And Camino Frances. Challenge complete, but in Spanish. Desafío completado, something like that.